The mud and the forest, the wind was cold. The sky was gray. The trees in the forest stood like shadows, silent and tall. A man was running. His breath was heavy. In his arms he carried a small girl, his daughter. Her name was Leia. She was only 7. They had been running for hours. Behind them there were sounds, not of people, not of animals, but of something worse. "They are close," the man said to himself, looking over his shoulder. His face was full of fear. His clothes were torn. His hands were bleeding. But he didn't stop. The girl held onto his jacket tightly. "Papa, I'm scared," she whispered. "I know, Leia. Just a little more," he replied. "You have to. Be brave, for me." A loud growl echoed through the forest. The man's heart skipped a beat. The creatures were not far now. They hunted in silence. They saw in the dark. And they could smell fear. The man looked around. He found a small muddy ditch under a fallen tree. He quickly jumped down and laid Leia on the ground. Then, without saying a word, he started covering her with cold, wet mud. "Papa, it's cold," she cried softly. "I know. But it will hide your smell. They won't find you," he whispered. "Don't move, don't speak. No matter what happens." He placed leaves and branches over her body. Only her eyes were visible now. He kissed her forehead. "I love you. Stay here. I'll come back." Then he stood up and ran away in the other direction loudly, on purpose. The creatures would follow him, not her. It was the only way. In the silence that followed, Leia stayed still. She was shaking. Tears ran down her muddy cheeks. She could hear strange clicks and growls. Shadows moved in the trees. One of the creatures came near, very near. It sniffed the air. Its long, thin legs stepped closer. But the mud worked. After a few terrifying minutes, the sound moved away. The forest became quiet again. Suddenly, a soft sound came from behind the trees. It wasn't a growl, it was footsteps. Human footsteps. Someone was coming. A man stepped out from behind a thick tree. He wore a long brown coat and a scarf around his face. Only his eyes were visible. They were calm but alert. He saw Leia lying under the mud. He looked around, then slowly walked toward her. She wanted to scream, but something in his eyes told her not to. He knelt beside her. Quietly, he lifted the leaves and helped her sit up. "You're safe now," he said in a low voice. "Where's my papa?" She asked, her voice trembling. "Don't know, but we must move." "Now?" the man said. Leia hesitated. "I can't leave him. He wants you to live. We must go before the creatures come back." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. The man lifted her in his arms and started walking into the deep forest. They walked in silence. Only the sound of dry leaves and distant crows filled the air. After some time, they reached a rock hidden behind thick bushes. The man pressed something. On the side, a small metal door opened in the ground. "Inside," he said. They climbed down into darkness. The air was cold and smelled of old metal. The man lit a small lantern. It was a hidden shelter. "Old but safe. You can rest here," he said, placing her on a blanket. She looked around. The shelter had food, water, and old books. It felt strange, but safer than outside. "Who are you?" she finally asked. The man didn't answer. He just gave her a piece of bread and turned away. Later that night, Leia could not sleep. She missed her father. She missed her home. She stared at the dark corners of the shelter. Suddenly, she heard something. A whisper. A soft, strange voice from behind a metal door in the back wall. She sat up. "Hello?" she said quietly. The man appeared quickly. "Stay away from that door," he said sharply. "Why? What's there?" "Nothing you need to know." His voice was calm, but cold. Leia didn't ask again. But now she was more afraid than before. Not of the forest, not of the creatures, but of what was inside this shelter. She woke up to the sound of breathing, but it wasn't hers. Leia opened her eyes slowly. The shelter was dark. The lantern had burned out. The man who saved her was asleep in the corner, or at least he looked like it, but the breathing she heard was coming from somewhere else. Somewhere behind the metal door. Hours earlier, after the man carried Leia into the underground shelter, she had sat quietly on the thin mattress, holding the piece of bread in her hands. She wasn't hungry. Her body was tired, but her heart was full of fear. The man spoke little. He didn't ask questions. He didn't give his name. He just moved around the shelter, checking supplies, watching the entrance, always quiet. Leia tried to read his face, but it was hard. He always kept the lower part covered. At last, she asked him softly, "Did you see my papa?" The man paused for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No, but he's smart. He will find you." It wasn't a promise, but it was enough to make her close her eyes and sleep for a little while. Now, in the darkness of the shelter, Leia sat up again. The breathing sound was louder, soft, wheezy, like something sick or trapped. She slowly walked toward the metal door in the back wall. It had no handle, just a set of small screws and rusted bolts. She pressed her ear to the metal. Hooah! Hoo! It was alive. Something was alive behind it. Then a whisper, a strange, broken whisper. Leia. She jumped back. She didn't scream, but her whole body froze. How did it know her name? Suddenly, she heard footsteps. The man was awake. He grabbed her shoulder gently but firmly. "I told you, stay away from that door." She looked up at him, eyes wide. "Something said my name." He stared at her for a moment, then turned away. "There's no one in there," he said. But too quickly, Leia didn't believe him. The next day, the man gave her a warm drink made from dried herbs. He gave her a soft shirt and helped her wash off the dried mud from her skin. There was kindness in him, but something else too. Like he was always thinking, always listening. "Why do you live here alone?" she asked. "I'm not alone," he said. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. Later, she found a small book near the bed. It had drawings, maps, creatures, places. She saw a sketch of something tall, thin, with long arms and black eyes. Under it, one word was written, "Hunters." "These things, they destroyed everything?" she asked. The man nodded. "Most of it. They don't just kill. They search for something." "For what?" He didn't answer again. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her father was still missing. Her chest hurt when she thought of him running alone, maybe being chased. Maybe worse. And still, the door whispered, "Leia?" This time, she didn't go near it. She waited for the man to sleep, then walked around the room. She looked closer at his supplies, weapons, tools, a small recorder, and a picture. It was old, folded, but she could see it clearly. The man was in it, smiling. Beside him was a woman and a child with eyes just like hers. In the morning, the man cooked a simple meal over a small fire. Leia sat close, warming her hands. "Who was the girl in the photo?" she asked. He didn't move. "She was someone I tried to protect." "Like me?" He looked at her. For the first time, his eyes softened. "No, not like you." She didn't make it. A long silence followed. Leia didn't ask anything more, but something was clear now. The man wasn't just saving her. He was trying to forgive himself. Suddenly, a red light blinked on a panel near the entrance. A small sound followed ping. The man stood up quickly. He pressed a button. "What is it?" Leia asked. "Movement." Outside, her heart jumped. Is it the creatures? Could be. Or it could be your father. The man moved fast. He grabbed a rifle, put out the fire, and shut down the shelter lights. In seconds, everything was dark again. He whispered, "Go to the back. Hide behind the crates. Do not make a sound." Leia ran to the back, but as she reached the crates, she looked once more at the metal door, and this time it was slightly open. Just a crack from the dark space behind it. Two glowing eyes stared back at her. The eyes didn't blink. They just watched her, glowing softly from behind the half-open door. Round, unmoving, not human. Leia couldn't scream. She couldn't even breathe. Then the door creaked open. She took one step back. Then another. A soft scraping sound came from inside. Something moved. The glowing eyes stayed where they were. But now, a thin, bony hand appeared in the dark gap, pale, gray, with long fingers. Suddenly, a strong arm pulled her away. It was the man. He slammed the door shut and locked it with a loud clang. Then he turned to her, his eyes wide with anger, or was it fear? "I told you not to go near it," he said sharply. "I didn't open it," Leia cried. "It was already open. It was watching me." The man stared at her, breathing hard. Then, without another word, he pulled a metal beam across the door and sealed it tighter. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Later, they sat in silence near the small heater. Leia couldn't stop shaking. "What is that thing?" she asked. Finally, the man didn't look at her. "It's not what you think." "Is it one of the hunters?" "No," he said. "It's something else. Something I found before I found this place." Leia whispered, "Why is it locked up?" The man looked tired now, older, like he was carrying something heavy inside. "I made a promise," he said, "to protect it, even if I don't trust it." Leia frowned. "Protect it? It's dangerous." "Maybe," he replied. "But once it saved my life." Flashback, the man's past. Many months ago, after the world had changed, the man was alone. He had lost his family to the first wave of attacks. He had nothing left except his gun and his guilt. He was hiding in a ruined city when he found it. A creature, wounded, bleeding, not like the others, smaller, weaker. It looked at him, not with hate, but with fear. And when the real hunters arrived, that creature warned him. It helped him escape. He couldn't kill it after that. He didn't know why. Maybe because, deep down, he didn't want to be the last good man left. So he built a cage. A safe one. For it, and maybe also for himself. Back in the shelter, Leia was still confused. "It knows my name," she whispered. The man looked up. "It does?" "Yes." It whispered it. Twice. The man looked toward the sealed door, thoughtful. That shouldn't be possible. Leia was scared again. What if it's tricking us? What if it's calling something else? The man stood. "I'll check the sensors." He walked to the control panel, pressed a few buttons. Green lights flickered. The outside motion sensor showed nothing, but deep in the system, something blinked. Red signal detected. Inside the man's face changed. He opened a hidden panel and pulled out a small device. It was a tracker, old, dusty, but now it was glowing. "Some things?" "Broadcasting," he muttered. "Broadcasting?" Leia asked. He turned to her. "That thing inside, it sent a signal. Someone or something may have heard it." That night, sleep didn't come. The man sat near the entrance with his rifle. Leia stayed on her mattress, eyes on the sealed door. Her mind was racing. Why had it whispered her name? Why was it even in the shelter? And most of all, why did the man still protect it? In the middle of the night, a sound echoed through the shelter. Boom. Not inside. Outside. Something heavy had landed. Above them, dust fell from the ceiling. The man stood instantly. They found us. Leia ran to him. The creatures? Maybe. Or maybe someone worse. He handed her a small bag. If anything happens, you run through the back tunnel. You don't stop. She nodded. Heart pounding. He turned to the sealed door. The eyes were watching again. This time. They blinked. The door didn't just blink. It cried. A soft, strange sound escaped the sealed chamber. Not a growl. Not a whisper. But something that sounded like sadness. Leia stood frozen. It wasn't just a creature anymore. It was someone. Man noticed too. He stepped back from the metal door. His rifle lowered just a little. I've never heard it make that sound, he said quietly. What if? It's not trying to hurt us? Leia asked. The man didn't reply. His face was hard to read, like always, but his eyes, they were softer now. For a moment, the shelter was quiet. Only the low humming of machines filled the air. But the tension was heavy. Then the signal device blinked again. Ping. Something or someone was on the move outside. And it was heading their way. Inside the shelter, the man began preparing supplies. We may have to leave soon, he said. If they track the signal, we won't be safe. Leia helped silently, but her mind was on the creature. What is it really? She asked. He hesitated, then said, It's not a monster. But not human either. I think it's a child. Leia looked up. A child? Yes, maybe even younger than you. Flashback told by the man. When I found it, it was alone. It was hiding from the hunters too. It had injuries, cuts. One eye was bleeding. It tried to speak, but I couldn't understand the language. He paused. I almost shot it. But then it touched my hand. What happened? It showed me something. In my mind, a picture. Leia asked. Like a dream? He nodded. Yes, a dream of fire and its family being taken. It was afraid. Just like us. Leia sat near the sealed door now. She wasn't afraid anymore. She placed her small hand against the cold metal. I think it's still afraid, she said softly. Suddenly, the door clicked. Unlocked. The man stepped forward fast. Leia, stay back. But the door didn't open fast. It opened slow. Inside was a small, thin creature. About her size, its skin was pale gray, eyes large and black. It looked weak, scared, and tired. No teeth, no claws, no weapons. Just fear. The creature stepped out carefully like a shy animal. Leia didn't move. Their eyes met. Then, the creature reached up with a shaking hand and pointed to its chest. A soft voice said, Zell. Zell? Leia repeated. Creature nodded. Then it pointed at her. Leia, she said. It nodded again. Slowly, it sat on the ground. The man lowered his weapon. I locked it away because I was afraid, he said. But maybe fear isn't the answer anymore. That night, the three of them sat in silence. Zell didn't eat, but it watched everything, closely, carefully. It moved like a scared animal, but not wild. Smart. Leia handed Zell a blanket. It touched it, then smiled. That was the first time the shelter felt like more than a hiding place. It felt almost like a home, but the peace didn't last. The tracker blinked red again. 5 signals, moving fast. Surrounding them, the man stood. They're here. Who? Leia asked. He looked at the screen. Hunters, maybe worse. Something new. He turned to Zell. Did they follow you? Zell looked down. Leia stepped between them. It's not his fault. The man didn't argue. He just grabbed his gear. We run, now. They packed fast. Zell followed them into the exit tunnel. His eyes wide with fear, but also trust. As they climbed up into the cold forest air, Leia looked back at the shelter. For a second, She wished they didn't have to leave, but the stars above were moving, like lights in the sky. Ships. Hunters. And something else. The trees were glowing. Not from sunlight, there was none left. They glowed red from above. As the sky itself opened and the hunters returned, the man pushed Leia forward through the thick forest. Zell, the small alien child, followed closely, barefoot and silent. "Don't stop. Keep your head down," the man said in a low voice. His rifle was ready. His eyes scanned the darkness between every tree. Above them, the red lights moved slowly. Across the sky, like fireflies made of metal, ships, scanners. Searchers. They were not alone anymore. They're hunting. The man whispered. Leia looked up. "For us?" "No, for him," he replied, nodding at Zell. "But they'll kill anything that protects him." Zell stumbled. His leg was weak. The man caught him before he hit the ground. "He's slowing us down," he said. Leia stepped forward. "He's trying." The man looked at her. Something changed in his face, from anger to understanding. He nodded, then picked Zell up and carried him. They moved for hours, deeper into the wild hills, far from any road, any signal, any human place. But the red lights followed. Sometimes they heard machines in the air. Sometimes the ground shook. And sometimes it was just quiet. Too quiet. By nightfall, they found an old factory ruin, half buried under vines and dirt. "We'll rest here," the man said. "Only for a few hours." Inside, it was cold and dark. Rusted machines stood like old skeletons. Water dripped from the broken roof. Zell curled up in a corner, breathing fast, scared. Leia gave him her jacket. "You're safe now." Zell looked up at her, then pointed to the sky and made a circle with his fingers. "What's he saying?" she asked. The man watched closely. "He's showing a portal, or a gate." "To what?" Zell drew two small figures in the dust like him. "A family?" "He's not the only one," the man whispered. "Others like him. Maybe they're still alive." Suddenly, a sharp beep came from the man's pocket. He pulled out a scanner. 3 signals. "Close, moving. Up," he said quickly. "We move. Now." They ran through the ruins, climbed out through the backside. The forest was colder now. The night wind howled. And then they heard it. A high-pitched scream. Mechanical. Not human. The hunters were near. They ran. Branches cut their skin. Mud pulled at their shoes. Leia's legs burned. Zell cried out once, but Leia grabbed his hand and kept going. Behind them, lights flashed through the trees, white and red, scanning everything. Then, a blast of heat. The ground exploded beside them. The man turned and fired his rifle once, just enough to distract the chasers. "Go!" he shouted. But a hunter dropped from the trees. It was huge, tall, insect-like. Its face was metal. Its arms were blades. It landed between them. Zell froze in fear. Leia screamed. The man rushed forward, slamming into the hunter with full force. "Run!" he yelled. Zell and Leia ran blindly, deeper into the dark. Then, silence. No more shots. No more screams. Just darkness. They stopped under a fallen tree. Leia pulled Zell close. "Where's he?" she whispered. Zell didn't speak, but he reached out and touched her forehead gently. In her mind, a picture flashed. The man, standing, bleeding, still alive, still fighting. Hours passed. Then, a sound. Footsteps. Slow, familiar. Leia looked up. The man appeared, limping, blood on his shirt, but alive. She ran to him. He didn't speak, just nodded. "We need to go." "They're not stopping," he said. "They want Zell. They'll destroy everything to take him." Leia looked at Zell. "Why?" The man took a long breath. Because he's not just a child, he's a key, a living code. To what? He looked at the sky. To a ship. A door. Maybe even to ending this war. Leia held Zell's hand tightly. We protect him, she said. Together. The man looked at both of them. He gave a tired smile. For the first time, then let's keep running. And they disappeared into the shadows again. The hunt was far from over. Before the world ended, he had a name. But now, even he couldn't remember it. All he remembered was the mistake and the sound of a little girl's voice, the one he couldn't save. They had found shelter again. A broken house half-eaten by vines and time. The windows were gone, the roof open to the stars. But for now it was quiet. Leia sat beside Zell, helping him drink from a bottle. The alien child was weak but alive. His eyes slowly closed. The man stood by the door, looking out into the dark hills. Leia watched him. She had never asked. But now she needed to know. Who were you before all this? She asked. The man didn't turn. But his voice came back low and cracked. Before the sky burned? Before they came? She nodded. He was silent for a long time. Then he said, I was a father. He finally sat down. The cold moonlight fell on his face. For the first time, he pulled down the cloth that always covered his mouth. A long scar ran down his cheek. His jaw was bruised. But his eyes were soft now, not like a soldier. Like someone still mourning. My daughter's name was Isla, he said. She had bright eyes, loved stars. She thought the world would always be safe. He looked at Zell. When the hunters came, we ran. Just like you and your father. Leia's voice was barely a whisper. What happened to her? The man didn't blink. I told her to hide. I told her I'd come back. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The room was silent. Leia sat close now. Not afraid. Just understanding. You're trying to protect us because you couldn't protect her, she said softly. He looked down. Maybe. Zell crawled beside him, small, gentle. He placed one hand on the man's chest. A strange warmth passed through him. Memory. A feeling. Hope. The man stood up, breathing deeply. Come on. We have to send the signal. There might still be people out there. Survivors. Where? Leia asked. There's an old tower. Pre-war tech. Hidden in the hills. If we can reach it, I can send a message. To who? To anyone still listening. They traveled through the night. The air was thin, cold. The stars above flickered like warning lights. Zell walked now, slowly, but stronger. After 2 hours they found it. A tall metal tower, broken. At the top, but half alive with old wires. The man connected his gear. It needs power, he said. Zell stepped forward. He reached out and touched the machine. In seconds, the screen lit up. The tower hummed to life. Leia gasped. He turned it on. The man smiled. He's more than we know, he typed quickly. A short message. Survivors. 3. One child not human. Seeking help. Repeat. Seeking help. He hit send. The tower blinked. Signal sent. A long pause. Then a soft beep. Signal received. Leia's heart jumped. Someone heard us. The man nodded. We wait, but not here. We need to move again. As they packed up to leave, Zell looked. To the sky, he raised one hand. Far above, between the stars. A flash of blue. A ship? Leia smiled. Is that help? The man's face changed. No, he said slowly. That's not human. He looked at the tracker again. New signals. Many. All coming fast. Zell's glow began to fade. He looked tired again, afraid. Leia stepped close. We protect him, no matter what. The man nodded. I failed once. I won't fail again. They disappeared into the forest, the signal still pulsing in the tower behind them. Above, the stars moved like hunters sharpening their knives, and somewhere someone had heard them. But friend or enemy? They didn't know yet. It was quiet before the storm. Too quiet. The kind of silence that comes when the forest knows something is about to break. Leia held Zell's hand. The little alien child didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just looked at the sky like he knew today was the day it all would end, one way or another. The man crouched behind a fallen log, watching the far hills through his broken scope. The signal tower was still blinking in the distance. Someone had heard them, but someone else had heard them too. The red lights were back in the sky. Not one, but many. Ships. Hunters. Maybe worse. He turned to Leia and Zell. This is where we stand, he said. Leia nodded. We're ready. Zell looked up. His black eyes reflected the fire in the clouds. They moved to the ruins of an old bunker nearby. It wasn't much. Broken walls, a half-working door, and sandbags from a forgotten war. But it was high ground. And it would have to do. The man set traps. He gave Leia a small knife. He handed Zell a worn-out backpack. Inside was the device. The key. What's inside? Leia asked. Something that can shut them down. All of them. For good. But why him? The man looked at Zell. Because he's not just a child. He's a signal. A living code. And his people. They built the first gate. The sky turned darker. The ground began to rumble. The first hunter dropped from the clouds, like a giant shadow with eyes. The fight had begun. The man fired first, a direct shot to its head. The hunter fell, but more arrived. 10, 20. Too many. Leia pulled Zell behind a wall. The traps exploded. Fire lit the trees. The man fought like a ghost, fast, deadly, silent. But he was only one, and the hunters were endless. A blast hit the bunker. Leia screamed. Zell cried out and fell. The device rolled away. The man limped too. Reached them, bleeding from his shoulder. Zell, the device. Zell crawled toward it, glowing faintly. The backpack opened. He placed both hands on the glowing core inside. The air changed. Time slowed. The hunters paused, just for a second. Then, a voice, but not from a speaker, from everywhere. A child's voice. Zell's voice. Stop. The hunters froze. Then, they began to collapse. One by one. Like puppets with no strings. Zell glowed brighter. His body shook. But he didn't let go. Leia cried, Zell, stop, you're hurting. The man grabbed her, pulling her back. He's saving us. Suddenly, silence again. The light faded. Zell dropped to the ground. Leia ran to him, held him close. Zell. Please. His small chest moved slowly. Still alive. Barely. Then, a sound from above. A new ship. But this one didn't shine red. It was silver. Blue. Calm. The man aimed his gun. Unsure. But the ship opened. And from the light stepped beings like Zell. Taller. Peaceful. Calm eyes. One knelt beside. Zell touched his forehead. He woke. He smiled. Then he looked at Leia. He reached for her hand. She took it. And for a moment, they said goodbye without words. Zell walked into the veil, light with his people. But before he left, he turned back and smiled at the man. The man nodded. No words, just understanding. The ship rose into the sky. Gone. Leia sat on the ground, tears on her face. Not from sadness, but from something else. Hope. The man sat beside her. Do you think they'll come back? She asked. He looked at the stars. One day. What now? He smiled. For real, this time. Now we find others. There's still a world to rebuild. She leaned on his shoulder. You're not alone anymore, she said. He put an arm around her. And neither are you. As the sun finally rose over the broken trees, they walked toward it, two survivors, not by blood, but by choice, by love, by family.